Hello everyone, this is Tom Fox and I'd like to welcome you to this episode of the FCPA Compliance and Ethics Report. The FCPA Compliance and Ethics Report is sponsored by the Red Flag Group. The Red Flag Group is a business advisory, information services, and technology firm that helps clients manage risk areas across 4 key risk areas, including sales and sales channels, which includes distributors, resellers, and partners, suppliers, customers, and human capital, which of course includes employees and contractors. You can check out more information on the Red Flag Group at their website, www.redflaggroup.com. Today I am in a series of the 10 Hallmarks of an Effective Compliance Program. This is a series I've wanted to do for some time. So this podcast is going to be quite a bit different. It's going to be short, right at 10 minutes or so. And I'm going to go into a specific hallmark of the best practices compliance program as articulated by the Department of Justice and Securities Exchange Commission in the 2012 FCPA Guidance. This series is based upon my seminal work on doing compliance, which is of course entitled Doing Compliance, Design, Create, and Implement an Effective Anti-Corruption Compliance Program. You can check out my book at Compliance Week. If you go to their site, www.complianceweek.com, and then click under Thought Leadership, then In-Depth Reports, and scroll down, you'll see my books available. So I hope you will check it out. I hope this podcast series might interest you in learning a little bit more about the actual doing of compliance. Hello everyone, this is Tom Fox again. Today I'm going to start my series on the 10 hallmarks of an effective compliance program with Hallmark 1, which is a commitment from senior management and a clearly articulated policy against corruption. Tone at the top is clearly one of the most ubiquitous phrases in compliance. Many commentators have derided it as basically meaningless, yet I think they miss the key part or key component that under any compliance program, any compliance regime, whether it's based upon the FCPA, the UK Bribery Act, the OECD Good Practices, the Brazilian Clean Companies Act, the New Mexican law, wherever it's based on, if you don't have an appropriate tone at the top and commitment from senior management, then you're not going to have an effective compliance program. So how do you get tone at the top? What does that mean? It means that senior management has to not only give overarching or high-level statements about the culture of compliance and doing business compliance, in compliance and ethically, but you need to have that reinforced and then implemented by middle managers and employees throughout the levels of the business. But the DOJ and SEC expect senior management to do more than say the right things. You actually have to do the right things as well. And indeed, the FCPA guidance states the strong ethical culture directly supports a strong compliance program. By adhering to ethical standards, senior managers will inspire middle managers to reinforce these standards. Compliant middle managers, in turn, will encourage employees to strive to attain these standards throughout the organization. In short, compliance with the FCPA and ethical rules must start with the top. Both the DOJ and the SEC will evaluate whether senior management has clearly articulated company standards, communicated them in unambiguous terms, adhered to them scrupulously, and disseminated them throughout the organization. So how are some of the things that, how you can you do this? Well, clearly you need to have the CEO of the company make a statement, and he needs to make that statement multiple times. He can make that statement via video podcast or video recording. He can make an audio statement. He can send out an email. He needs to be and reinforce that message. The best description I've ever heard was one time when I described this role to a CEO of a company. He looked at me and said, "Oh, I'm the ambassador." And that's exactly it. Senior management has to be the ambassador of compliance. That means you have to talk about compliance more than simply once a year. And the managers and the senior level must continually emphasize this going forward. But remember, it's more than simply the good tone at the top, it must move down throughout an organization from senior management to middle management into lower ranks of the company. This means that one of the tasks of the company, including any organization, is to get middle management to respect the stated ethics and values of a company, because if they do so, it will be communicated down through the organization. What should be the tone in the middle? Well, this role is critical because the majority of company employees work most directly with the middle rather than the top management, and consequently they're going to take their cues from how middle management responds to a situation. Further, if middle management is listening to the concern of employees, this can create not only a dialogue, but it can impact change. And even if your middle management cannot immediately affect a direct change, it's important that employees need to have an outlet to express their concerns. I think most studies will show that almost every whistleblower who goes to the Security and Exchange Commission or somewhere else outside the company took their concerns to middle management first, and they were rebuffed. So it's going to be a clear skill of middle management to listen, and your organization should train middle managers to enhance their listening skills in the context of providing training for a manager's toolkit. This is something that companies should provide to their middle managers. This can be particularly true if a compliance violation or other incident requires a form of employee discipline. It's important that there be organizational justice in the context of what's called the fair process doctrine, but employees must feel like that their concerns are being heard going forward. So what about tone at the bottom? Well, even if you have great tone at the top and you have great tone in the middle, you can't stop there. One of the greatest challenges for the compliance practitioner is to impact or affect the tone at the bottom. To do so, you must engage those at the front lines through training, communication, and tools to accomplish this task. A key question is how to tap into the belief system at the bottom of an organization. I think the answer is to engage employees in a manner which allows them to not only communicate up, but also put their collective experiences together so that you will better understand what is actually happening on the front lines. The key is that you must not only talk the talk of compliance, but you must walk the walk of compliance. And it's incumbent that you do so through every level of the organization. How do you tap into each level? In the middle management is in many ways the most difficult, because their middle managers are going to have to answer to senior management, and then they're going to have to lead. So listening at middle management, I emphasize that again. The middle managers who've been promoted up often don't have this skill because they haven't had to utilize this skill. So having middle managers who will listen and giving middle managers the tools to impact and affect change brought up by the bottom is going to be a key manner in which you can communicate up and down the organization. But it all starts at the top. And senior management must start with senior management, and senior management must emphasize that employees will be rewarded for, or conversely disciplined from, not doing business in compliance and within the company's code of conduct, their anti-corruption compliance program, and the ethical values stated by the company. So it goes up and down. It's a two-way street of communication. It certainly starts with the top. It has to move through the middle, and it has to go through the bottom. But don't simply think that because you're at the bottom, that's where it ends, because communication has to go back up through the top. Many of the key prevention controls can be enhanced by having communications from employees at the bottom or those on the front lines who see, hear, and know things that corporate executives at the home office don't know. So this concludes my first podcast on the 10 hallmarks of an effective compliance program. I hope you've enjoyed this short recap. Once again, if you'd like more information, please go to Compliance Week and check out my book, Doing Compliance, Design, Create, and Implement an Effective Anti-Corruption Compliance Program. I have a lot more specific tools and techniques that you can use for communicating tone throughout the organization. This is Tom Fox. Thank you very much for listening. Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox. I'd like to thank you for listening to this episode of the FCPA Compliance and Ethics Report, where I focused on one hallmark in the 10 hallmarks of an effective compliance program. If you want more information, I hope you will read my blog post today. It collates to this podcast, so I'm trying to do a written and audio series for everyone. If you would like to utilize this audio in any of your training materials, please contact me at tfox@tfoxlaw.com, and we can make arrangements for that as well. Also, once again, the series is based upon my textbook or my book, Doing Compliance, Design, Create, and Implement an Effective Compliance Program. And I would urge you to go to Compliance Week and check out my book. If you'd like any more information, I have much more detail in the book. This is Tom Fox. I'd like to thank you very much for listening to this episode.